Please don't take the above picture as any kind of photographic masterpiece, but it does illustrate very well the fact that in the above picture, the window light and the incandescent light in the light bulbs, if we expose for those, the shadows would fall. We would lose a lot of shadows detail because they were not properly lighted. So what we're doing is we're using fill flash in this technique, and it's manual fill flash, to add the details into the midtones and the shadow areas. What we're going to discuss before we get into the exposure concepts is, first of all, we're going to discuss what you need on your camera and how to configure your camera to do this kind of manual flash, both with single flashes and multiple flashes. And you'll truly be surprised at how cheap and the impact that it will have on your photography. The concept is first of all, what we have is we have a transmitter that sits on the camera and communicates to receivers which are attached to the flashes. Alternately, this can be achieved with either PC cords, which come from the camera to the flashes, or what we can have is we can have peanuts or light triggering units, which are triggered by the light flash. What basically happens is you put the camera into manual mode, and by putting it into manual mode, you disable all of the internal flash functions of the digital SLR and allow everything to be done manually. What this enables you to do is allows you to position the flashes away from the traditional on-camera flash, which gives sometimes a terrible lighting. What you can do is you can position the flash virtually anywhere that you want to in the room. You can use multiple flashes, you can use filters on the flashes and all sorts of things for really great effects. But what we have to do first of all is master the technique of attaching the triggering mechanism to the camera and to the flashes. The first thing that needs to be done is we have to make sure that we have an ISO compatible flash hot shoe on the camera. In the case of the Sony cameras, they have a Minolta type hot shoe, which has to be converted with an adapter like above. If you have an ISO hot shoe and no sync port capability, you will also need that sync port is that small circular port in the center of the adapter. You'll have to have an adapter that will allow the use of a PC cord in the event that you do not have a PC port adapter or port on the camera. One very important point before we get started is the concept of sync voltage. Sync voltage on some of these older flashes can be in excess and up to 300 volts. If you put one of these flashes onto a digital camera and try and utilize the flash, in many cases you can fry the internal electronics of the digital camera due to the fact that the sync voltage of some of the digital cameras is around 12 volts. What you have to do in this point is attach a device like illustrated here, like the Safe Sync. If you're going to attach it directly to the camera, the Wine Safe Sync, which will allow you to use flashes with a higher sync voltage or connect through the PC cords. It's very important to discuss, or not to discuss, but thoroughly investigate the sync voltage issue before you apply an older flash to a newer camera. After we have this sync voltage issue out of the way, the next thing that we have to determine is, or figure out, is how we want to trigger these flashes. We can either do it photoelectrically, that's a light by the flash triggering other flashes, or we can do it by radio. I really prefer radio over photoelectric or infrared. The reason being is radio reaches around corners, so if you want to position a flash in the background or whatever, you can do that. And another thing is the photoelectric flashes a lot of times are affected by sunlight or bright sun. so that what happens is if you're using the flash on a sunny day, which we will explore later, the photoelectric flashes become limited. Now, the subject of flashes, or the radio flashes, really can be very expensive or very inexpensive. I prefer the inexpensive route because I'm not rich. I don't know if you are, but I'm not. I really don't have the amount of money it takes to go out and purchase the very expensive radio triggers. Here we have some units called the Pocket Wizards. These are very expensive. These are a couple $100 per side. That means a couple $100 for each flash location, and also a couple $100 on the camera. These are excellent, phenomenal flash triggers. But if you're on a cheaper budget, you might consider some of the eBay triggers. Here's a set of flash triggers that are inexpensive. These are commonly referred to as eBay triggers. There are several categories. There are several manufacturers referred to eBay triggers, but these are called the CTR 301Ps. The thing I like about them is they're very accurate. They fire 99.99% of the time when the camera fires. They've got a decent range, and they'll also fire both photoelectrically and by wireless. If you can see that switch that says L and W. These are about $50 for a set of 2 or 3 receivers for the flashes and a transmitter for the camera. These are highly recommended. Another variety of eBay triggers are called the cactus triggers. These are great units, but I've had less success. They don't fire 100% of the time, and I prefer the CTR 301Ps over the cactus triggers, but maybe that was just my experience with the unit that I had. Another method of firing flashes remotely is the photoelectric method, using something like the peanut, which is shown above. I do not prefer this method because it's pretty much line of sight. It doesn't work well in sun. And another thing you might say is, what about the flash system that came with my camera, like the CLS on the Nikon Creative Lighting System, which fires these flashes photoelectrically. This also works well, but basically what you're doing is you're, again, subjecting yourself to the automatic mode of the camera with the pre-flashes and all the rest of the stuff, which can at times be a limitation. I prefer the totally manual mode with manual flashes that are attached externally, or not attached to the camera, but are placed external to the camera. Next is the concept of the flashes that you purchase yourself. Many of these can be found in yard sales or very inexpensively over eBay and in other areas. Here's the Vivitar manual flash pictured above. Any of the manual flashes like the Vivitar, which allows you to adjust the flash output down to a 16th or even a 32nd or a 64th of normal power, is excellent. And also, if you can get them, try to get one with a zoom head, which allows you to control the light source, the size of the outputted light source. Any of the Nikon SB800s or 600s are excellent flashes. But the Vivitars and the manual flashes like this are very, very usable. This concludes our first part of manual flash, basically hardware introduction. Please visit us at www.fotolinq.com for more videos. Thank you.